Cool. It says it's starting. Live video is starting. 1 second. Cool. It looks like we're live within the group. I have. Just gonna scroll down 1 second here. How are you doing today, Jessica?
I am doing well. How are you doing?
Doing doing good. It's good to connect with you live within the group as opposed to the podcast that we did.
Yeah, yeah. Super excited to be here and super excited to talk. You know, I love to talk about nervous system and self-regulation.
Of course, you do a wonderful job. You've had a really interesting background professionally as a nurse, and it seems like you really very passionate about transitioning into the wellness space, which you're doing now, obviously, and helping support nervous system regulation, and from a holistic perspective, not just from a medical perspective.
Yes, yes. All the things. Definitely all holistic. You know, the full,
We're a whole person. We're not just a combination of nutrients or drugs, obviously.
right, right. Yeah.
Cool. So if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. My name's Jessica Ann. I go by Jessica Ann. My last name's hard to pronounce, so Jessica Ann is fine. I am the creator, owner, CEO, whatever you want to call it, of Jessica Ann Wellness, where I really focus on embodiment process and continue to feel safe and calm while expanding and growing and going kind of through your awakening or your evolution process is kind of what I like to call it. So I'm really here just to help you get calm in your body. And that's really the key to our growth and success is learning how to regulate ourselves.
Absolutely. I think I mentioned to you, and when we did the podcast, and maybe a couple other times, I don't get sick as far as like colds that just kind of go around. But when I do, it's stress sick. I know I'm probably not alone in that. There's many other people that might have experienced it. I'm not taking ownership of it. Maybe I am, but I just know what it's like to go through that, where go through a stressful situation with his family, friends, uh, work, and so forth. And I know that the nervous system plays a big role in balancing emotions, hormones, neurotransmitters, and so forth, and balancing that all out. It can go through a wicked ride, to say the least. The roller coaster of cortisol and dopamine and all of the above, and getting the big high and then crashing. And then how does your nervous system and your immune system handle all that?
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. So I really love to focus on, I'm a true believer that we never have, and I think we talked about this a little bit, true balance in our bodies. It's
Right.
like how do we harmonize that flow of those ups and those downs, and how do we adapt, and how do we respond internally and externally to those responses and those pathways. So yeah, that's a great point too. So thank you for sharing.
Certainly. And this is not about me, but I know the importance of listening to your body in certain situations, whether it's on work or family. I was stress sick back in April for about 5 to 7 days, and then I went to a concert. I don't know, 9 days into that, I was feeling better. During that 2 hours, I was completely whole. It's not that that's therapy, but it can be. But there are environments where you have to really listen to your body.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that we will get into that actually with our internal and external environments.
Cool.
Here within the talk. So yeah.
Cool. So, what do you do? What kind of people do you work with? Men, women, children, younger, older, all the above?
Yeah, so it's kind of a little bit of a variety. Mainly it's women.
Okay, cool.
Because I'm a woman and I'm a mom, but within the Reiki aspect, I actually work a lot. I've worked a lot with teenagers. More of the energetic standpoint of Reiki. I'm a Reiki master, so I just have that energetic background that goes a lot into our nervous system as well, because we're a battery, yeah?
Of course, definitely.
We're all, yeah. Everything that's on this earth is made of energy too. So the energetic portion of it as well. So it's kind of just a variety, but mainly women, just because I have that connection, more of that sacred connection with women.
That's totally understandable. Like, you've been there, you've done that, especially as a mom, obviously. You know the ups and downs and how that works. Having
Right.
little ones bringing germs and stuff from school and everything else.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I got two boys, so very, very wild boys. So they keep me present. That's for sure, and living in the moment. So
On your
I,
toes. Definitely on your
yeah,
toes.
yeah.
For yourself or them or all of the above?
For both of us, actually.
Okay.
I do a lot of mindful parenting now that I'm able to kind of recognize and have that self-awareness of my own body. It allows me and empowers me to have mindful parenting with them as well, and in my relationships in general. So the nervous system is really, really, I feel like this just super high to how we connect with other people and how we grow and adapt and succeed and get unstuck. It's like, I'm sure that you've felt many times of, the stuck feeling and you're like, oh, if I could just get over this or if I could just get over that. And it's really, really honing in on kind of unsticking you and moving you past that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What for someone who is in a situation like that, who might feel they're stuck, whether it's again, could be any situation, family, friends, all in work, all, what would you recommend them to easily do to kind of help them get out of that?
One of the main things that I like to do is just that simple breathing technique that we talked about last time.
Okay.
It is just self-awareness is really the first step. So self-awareness of, okay, where am I starting to feel that anxiety come on or that overwhelm? Where am I feeling that at? And it's really starting to hone in. It might be in your throat. It might be in your chest. It might be in your stomach. Who knows? It's very unique to every person, kind of what I like to say. So honing in on that spot and really just taking a deep breath into that area and then visualizing on your exhale it melting down to the floor. Or, it's butter and it's melting down or whatever works best for you. Everyone's visualization is different. But just relaxing those muscles down to the floor, calming your system back down on its own. That's the number one most empowering thing for me anyway that has worked for me. And for me, it's just that simple breathing technique. And I you know me, sometimes you got to do it 50 times a day. Sometimes you may have to do it 200 times a day. But it's really that process of starting to teach your body how to self-regulate and calm down on its own.
And that could be something simple as we're at a stoplight. And we need to like balance our emotions, like go, I need to go, I need to stop, or just you're in traffic, whatever it is. We're always there. Well, we should be obviously, but we don't have to be in a certain situation. We can easily tap into that.
Yes, and being a busy mama of two, and owning my own business, and we live on 24 acres. We have a garden.
Wow.
It's busy. I'm busy. Things that I can do while I'm doing other things. Yeah, it doesn't take like, okay, I'm gonna go sit. While meditation is absolutely amazing, but I don't have time. I don't have 15 minutes or 20 minutes to go sit out. My husband works out of town Monday through Friday. Like I'm a single mom essentially through the week, so I really like things that are simple and quick and are easy to do in the moment.
Right. We can tap into it wherever we are as needed. And it really doesn't take a long time to do, correct? As far as that. Okay, cool.
Simple, yeah. It literally takes 3 to 5 seconds. I mean, there's also a lot of other things that go into play, but I always tell people just to start with that technique and check in a week later and see how your body's feeling.
Okay.
So it's really checking in. Key component too is, okay, let me check it. Let me try this for a week, or let me try this even for a couple days, and then start to bring awareness of how your body's feeling. And I also say checking in with your body. A lot of folks are, even as society, we are so disconnected from our bodies, and this as well.
Of course.
Like, we are so detached from our minds. Call it planet C. Our minds are on planet C, and our down here, and we're just not connected. So it's really just bringing that connection piece and trying to hone that back in a little bit and bring that closer and closer as you go through the process.
That's so important. And you said listen to your body. Is that also a matter of, my shoulders are bothering me, or my neck, or I've got a headache? Is it a tension headache, or is it a sinus issue? Or a lot of times, a matter of, if your shoulders or your neck are bothering you, is a sign of you have the weight of the world on your shoulders. So what can you do to manage those emotions in the moment? Whether, massage might not be in the, you can't get to a therapist for a couple of days or a chiropractor. So what can you do to manage the tension in your shoulders or your neck or your head or whatever?
Yeah. And that's where I really refer back to just that technique of imagining those muscles and just relaxing them down and on your own. But even more so of, I formulated a self-regulating cheat sheet. So those are, when you're looking at things for thoughts and emotions. So that's more of the mental capacity.
Of course.
So is journaling a good thing for you? Is, taking a bath if you have that time allotted, identifying really what calms you down. And that again begins with self-awareness. And then external environments could be like going for a walk, going and planting your feet, in the ground. Running. A lot of people like to run because it gets them, out of that space and grounds them back down. And when I'm saying grounded, because some people don't know what grounded means, so it's just feeling present in your body, feeling centered, feeling safe, feeling secure. And that kind of brings me into just a little bit, I wanted to talk a little bit about the nervous system and the polyvagal theory, because I feel like it's just really good information.
Absolutely. Please.
Yeah, just about first off, what is our nervous system? So our nervous system is this command center of 11 body systems. So the command center is more so the nervous system. So it's responsible for controlling, regulating, communicating messages throughout the whole body. So in short, it receives information from your environment and it generates those responses of that information within the body. So the three main functions of the nervous system is gather information from internal and external environments via your senses, process that information in the brain, which is different from we can go into that, later on. That's more in depth of it, but sends quick impulses from the brain to the body to initiate the appropriate response. So more so of what I like to focus on within the work that I do is the autonomic nervous system. And that's a division of the peripheral nervous system that regulates all of your involuntary psychological processes like your heart rate, your respiratory rate, digestion, all of those things that kind of automatically happen. It is built for our survival. So it happens outside your conscious awareness. So that's why I'm really big on kind of bringing in and honing in on self-awareness a little bit to kind of connect the subconscious and conscious memory a little bit better. But according to the polyvagal theory, so poly means many, vagal is for your vagus nerve. So it's more so honed in on your vagus nerve and those responses and how that reacts. But anyway, this perspective on the polyvagal theory, it explains how we engage with others through connection, disconnection, and attunement. The guy who created this in the mid-1990s, his name was Stephen Porges. He had no idea the impact, this theory would cause on individuals who are even healing from trauma, and giving just a better understanding of the neurophysiological explanations of our behaviors, of why our nervous system is responding the way that it's responding. So like I said, just your nervous system is, I like to phrase it as your nervous system is constantly monitoring the environment for threats if they're real or imagined. So by increasing awareness of your sensations that you're perceiving, we're able to interrupt kind of those unhelpful patterns of response, like our thoughts, our emotions, our behaviors, early in the pattern sequence to kind of alter the course of those pathways. So that results in change in behavior. It's also our greatest ability is to create change. Mindset work sometimes, like we've talked about, doesn't facilitate lasting change because it's kind of missing that key component of like self-regulation. And it typically excludes like the nervous system process. So that's why I just like to hone in on number one step in any work that I do. I make sure that I'm getting my clients to self-regulate. So they're able to process, in their mind. And that's more of the physiology, and we can go into that maybe another time. That's like a whole nother slew, but really honing in on that self-regulation. That is the number one thing that we start with. And I make sure that my clients are very, very attuned to within that process. In the first 1 to 3 months, sometimes it does take that long to teach folks how to self-regulate and get used to what our body's doing. So more so, it's kind of, there's these 3 regulatory pathways in the polyvagal theory. So there's social engagement, which is the ventral vagal state. That's kind of like your home base. That's where you feel safe. That's where you feel supported. That's where you feel present and engaged. We're all social by so our survival depends on our ability through facial expression, tone of voice, body language, and the energy that we perceive safe. So the sympathetic state, that is more of like your fight or flight state, or fawn. And you need more energy to combat those threats, whether they're real or perceived. So this state is really meant for like short-term bouts. You're not supposed to be in this fight or flight, 24/7.
Right, gotcha.
90% of the time. Sorry guys, I'm on my phone instead of my laptop.
Oh, no worries.
Moving stuff around so I can see. Okay. So it's chronic. If you're in this fight or flight all the time, like, I'm sorry, but I would say more so 80 to 85% of our society, we were just, we were taught to be on the go all the time and in this fight or flight response a lot of the time. So it leads to anxiety, insomnia, GI disturbances, and it really wears out the body when you stay in the state all the time. The third pathway is the dorsal vagal state. This is the body's most primitive regulatory pathway. So it's similar to playing dead like a possum. So if this activation is extreme, so kind of think overwhelm here, the body bypasses the sympathetic, which is that fight or flight, and it kind of just goes into that immobilized, numb, disassociated, trouble, inability to process, to think, act. It's kind of just like you're in that stage of numbing out feelings as well. Meant to be temporary there too. We're supposed to fluctuate between these three pathways, but we should always be landing back kind of in that ventral vagal, that safe and supported pathway, that home-based pathway. So with effective regulation, you can easily come out of these other states and return to a healthy state where you feel more, I don't like the word balance, but you feel more harmony and more safe and calm, engaged and alert.
That's...
Sorry, that was like a education.
No, it's so important in many levels. A lot of times, again, it's not about me, but from personal experience and when I'm working with people, is it the food that's causing their GI disturbance, or is it their emotions?
Yeah.
Or it could be both. We can't deny that there could be both involved. But at the same time, too, it's you really have to look into, is it a certain environment that's causing your stomach to get upset, and realizing, oh yeah, when I'm around my friends, when I'm having fun, when I'm in a state of play, whatever that play could be, you're going to be pretty whole and balanced in whatever balance you want that to be. Whereas when you're in the fight or flight, when you're more of a stress state, whether it's work or whether it's family or whatever, your GI and your digestion is most likely going to be, not most likely, but more of a possibility for that to be off. So its environment plays a big role in food and and emotions and vice versa.
Yeah, for sure. And just so you guys kind of know what the ventral vagal activation, like that ventral vagal state kind of looks like, it's feeling at ease, free to really be yourself and express yourself, open to new possibilities, being calm, peaceful, present, grounded, curious, and joyful. So when you're in that sympathetic activation state, so that fight or flight, you're fearful, anxious, worried, irritation, frustration, feeling on edge, intense need to like smooth things over. That was me a lot of the time. Like I always had this intense need of a people-pleasing tendency and needing to like make sure things were like okay, and I needed to soothe it over. So just like being this, that's more of a people-pleasing tendency, but that's more of like attachment theory. So with this work, it really goes so many ways. Like attachment theories are more about relationship styles and how we are attached to other beings, in response to, it could be trauma, it could just be the way we were raised, or it could just be kind of just what's going on in our life, and sometimes we just hone in on these different attachment styles within relationships. But sorry, I'm going on a whole nother rant. So back to...
No, it all comes together. You're not... it all comes together no matter what.
It's like a whole nother 30-minute talk on attachment styles. But and then your dorsal vagal. So that is just that disconnection. A lot of times that looks like depression, helpless, spaced out. Like I said, unable to really process things. Brain fog. That's like the key line of the dorsal vagal spot is like that brain fog. Just not connecting the dots. So So, like we kind of talked about how to regulate and create lasting change. So it's like that transformation. So change is different than transformation. What I like to say, transformation is like a deep, deep healing transformation that will stay with you. So like I said, awareness, just awareness that you're here learning about this. So that's awesome. Awareness is the first step. You're here learning more about this to improve yourself. So that's awesome. So increasing, your consciousness around this topic combined with the desire to shift to more of a grounded, confident presence will lead you to more success. So this new knowledge can be implemented in your day-to-day life now with that one exercise that we talked about and you doing that. And then maybe the next step is in the embodiment process. So that's getting out of your head and into your body. Practice perceiving life through your senses. So that's when you're aware of your internal and your external environments and how can you be present with yourself going through different internal and external environments and really grounding back down, being really rooted. And then feeling the edge is kind of what I like to say of, yes, we need those little bit of anxious feelings, but the good, the difference between like good anxious feelings and, like anxious feelings. So
is it the excitement of I'm looking forward to going to a concert or to hang out with friends or whatever it might be? Just use that example. Versus, oh no, I'm anxious about XYZ happening in a negative state.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. So the being anxious and like the good excitement part, that's really, really where you're stretching out and your comfort zone. So it's kind of where we're expanding. Yeah, we have to expand to be able to grow. So
of course.
We want to keep on and hone on to those good feelings. Those are good pathways. Those are good emotions. So really honing in on those and really finding and exploring what makes you feel good, like what makes you feel a little anxious but a good anxious, like that good excitement. And just kind of starting your day off with that. Even I really love my clients to start off the day with like what they're grateful for as soon as you wake up, because that instills a good positive emotion in your body, a good response, in your body to start your day off with those good happy hormones that are fluctuating throughout your body. So just keep showing up too. This takes practice, like anything else,
Of course.
Practice and practicing new skills too. And something else that would be awesome for everyone to do, just to get some more self-awareness around, know your knowledge, like know about you. So write out what activates you and kind of what are you most triggered by, and write those out so you're fully aware of kind of what that looks like for you. Some people just don't even know because a lot of the folks I work with are so disconnected that they don't even know what. So that's kind of like the first step too, is like what activates you really. And then, like I said, I have that self-regulation cheat sheet that I would love to send out to anyone that is interested in that. Chris, I don't know the best way for them to do that.
Easy way to do it. I can actually. Do you have it in the website form? I can put it under the in the comments under this post.
Okay.
Nice and easy.
Okay, perfect.
Yep, nice and easy.
There, and if you guys want that tool, it's like a whole little workbook. It's only like 5 pages, so it's little, but
cool. Thank you.
Yeah, it'll go into like the reflection of also of like, what activities bring you that glimmer, that hope to get back to your home base. So what makes you feel good?
Good excitement.
Yeah, good excitement. Yes. And we can hone in on those and really, really practice those, and start creating that harmony within your body.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you mentioned gratitude. Is it thinking of 3 or 5 things that I'm grateful for, or writing it down, or is it going to all be any of those things? Like what easy ways to implement it?
The easiest way for what I do and a lot of what my clients do, a lot of my clients use planners because we're just in that space of we like planners. I like planners. So my planner actually has spaced out like the top 3 things that I'm grateful for every day. So that finds to be easiest for me. Or even waking up and usually the bathroom's the first place people go. So even being in the bathroom, looking in the mirror, saying to yourself, what 3 things are you grateful for?
Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But writing it out obviously has benefits as well. So saying it out loud and writing it out will really implement all the sensations and all the feelings. So combining all of those together, I would highly recommend that.
That makes sense. And another easy thing that I've heard to do, and this is help with other things too, is set a reminder on your phone every hour, every 2 or 3 hours, and it'll quote unquote bug you or annoy you, or not. It'll remind you, not bug you, but it'll remind you. I am grateful for XYZ. I am, or the affirmations. I am powerful. I am assertive. I am, whatever you follow would be. So because my phone is always with me, it can remind me, be centered, be whole, whatever you want to do. So I'm not a physical planner person. That's great if you are, but my phone is always with me, so I'm most likely to check this or have this around me than a planner.
Yeah, there is an app too that I refer my clients to.
Awesome.
It's called I Am.
Cool. Perfect. Exactly.
It sends you reminders you can set your timer every 30 minutes, every hour. And also what I like to do with my clients, another tidbit, I want them checking in with their body every 30 minutes to every hour.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, so I have them set reminders every hour to, hey, let me check in within my body. What do I need right now? How am I feeling? So it's really just that connecting that mind and that body back.
So is it, for that app, is it I am, like how people look that up?
It's I and then AM.
Nice and easy.
Yeah.
Nice and easy. That's awesome. That's really simple and easy, quote unquote, easy things to implement. It's not really that hard to do. It's not asking a lot of ourselves, obviously, in our busy lives, thankfully.
Yeah, yeah. And if anyone is interested, just message me or message Chris even, and we can connect further.
Absolutely.
I'm really, really big on the service aspect, Chris. So
Of course.
I offer free one-on-one clarity sessions, typically 30 to 60 minutes in length, to really hone in on where you're feeling now and where you're feeling stuck, and kind of what you want to overcome and what that looks like for you with your vision a little bit, and create a plan on how to get there. So I'm really big on service, like I said. I'm just so different. I used to work in the hospital, y'all, so I'm just so big on actually spending time and connecting, because I lost that so much, working in the hospital with the brush system and everything else. So connection is so.
You do a wonderful job. Thank you. How can, obviously, people can reach you in the group? You work with mostly women, but you'd be happy to, if a guy wanted to work with you, you wouldn't turn him down, obviously.
I don't know. And I've worked with a couple firefighters.
Okay, cool.
Oh, yeah, in the trauma-related field. But yeah. So no, I'm open to anyone and everyone.
Kids, like teenagers?
Yeah, so I do work, like I said, I do mainly
Okay.
work with a couple firefighters. So it kind of just depends on, so that's where I like to throw in that free one-on-one session.
Of course,
So,
makes sense.
with children and teenagers, it's like I have a one-on-one session with them, and then I have one with their parents to make sure it's really co-regulation there. And
Of course, makes sense.
yeah.
That's cool. Any final thoughts, words? It's been, like I said, I really enjoy how this is so easy, not easy, but just simple things we can incorporate throughout our day. Tapping into ourselves, our thoughts, our emotions. What is our body telling us? You have tension in your neck, your shoulders, or your lower back. And there's, thoughts behind this where, lower back pain or lower back soreness might be a money concern, or like I said, your heart, you're pulling in your heartstrings. Is there a relationship that you want that's bothering you, that's causing this, or is it a physical abnormality? You as an RN can say, go to your doctor, you need to get checked out, or this is really a emotional concern. So there really is a strong emotional aspect to all this, which I really enjoy. You having both the medical background in addition to the holistic psychological background.
Yeah, and spirituality is also huge in my space too. So, and the, like you said, so yeah, the Feelings Buried Alive book is a lot about the emotions and where that's attached to our bodies, and a lot of the times it's the stagnant energy. That's what causes disease.
Of course.
The certain places. So yeah, thank you for sharing that too.
Yeah, like I said, it's really simple things we can do. Just figure out, is it the food, is it our emotions, or is it our environment? It could be all of the above or one of those, or one or two. So that's what we're here for as holistic practitioners, to really support you as a whole person, not just the one size fits all drug type approaches. May help in some acute situations, but we are a whole person more than anything.
I like to frame it, we're not putting band-aids on things. We're getting to the root cause.
Exactly. And we're seeing you as a whole person with emotions and thoughts and everything else.
Yes. Lovely work. I love it all.
Thank you. You do a wonderful job. Thank you so much for taking your time, sharing this. Any questions, people, feel free to reach out to Jessica N or myself. We're happy to help out. I've spoken to Jessica a couple times, both on the podcast, similar to this, in addition to another time with Brittany. And you're really good at what you do, and we really thank you for that.
Yes, yes. Thank you guys for allowing me in this space. And yeah, we'll have more to come about, I think, trauma.
Cool.
So trauma here. So look for that coming out too soon.
Cool. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day.
Yes, you too.
Thank you.